Well, this is Von Towser again, and this time we're doing something different. Whereas the last time it was the 5 games I hated playing most on the PS3, this time it's the 5 games I love playing the most on the PS3. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 5, Dragon Age Origins. The reason why I picked this one, the storyline's great, the cast that you get is great, and the fighting mechanism is unique. It's much more quick-moving than most of the fighting mechanics in most RPGs. However, on the console, they're not as good. Like, for instance, if you're a mage and you need a lot of spells, well, you're going to have to selectively pick them from your spell book, so it's a little bit inconvenient. You have to stick with so many spells. Luckily, they lower the difficulty on the console by 1 for each difficulty level to compensate for that. I mean, other than that, there's not too much problem with the game. It's a really good game. The storyline is top-notch, and even though your character looks rather feminine for a main character, that doesn't detract from the fact that it's an interesting game, and it's really fun. If I get the PC version, I will definitely get it, and I will play it all the way through. Beat it a bit, and it's going to be fun. Number 4 is Tekken 6. A fighting game made the list, you say. Well, that's a bit of a surprise, right? Well, it's a really good fighting game. It's not like most fighting games where it's tap one button, It's an actual combo. And even though most of it's based around juggling, it's still a lot more realistic than most fighters. Like UFC Undisputed 2010, for instance, is supposed to be realistic, but it's boring because of all of the grappling. It's just obsessed with it, to the point where it looks like some kind of gay porno. With Tekken 6, it feels more like an actual active battle where you can do a lot more with it. And everybody keeps saying the storyline is really bad with Tekken 6, but for a fighting game, the actual storyline is far better than most people make it out to be. So, you know, I think a lot of people underestimate or underrate this game. For, in my opinion, I think it's one of the better, if not the best, fighting games out right now. And I'm glad they made a 6th one, because they fixed a lot of the problems in Tekken 5 with all the imbalance problems and all the weak characters, to where now a lot of the characters are a lot stronger than they used to be. So definitely worth checking out for a fighting game. Number 3 is Need for Speed Carbon, which is my favorite racing game. And you're saying, but this is a really old Need for Speed, you know, compared to all the ones that come out now. The reason why this one's so great is, despite the limited selection and the ranking system for the cars, the actual races are interesting. I like how the rivals are so stressed. I mean, you get to race them once, but the actual method of getting to those races is a lot more interesting than, say, Need for Speed Most Wanted. A lot of people are going to argue with me that and say, but the police chases and all that crap are so much more interesting. Yeah, only if you pass them. If you fail them, you have to pretty much do it all over again. And you have to do that like 12 times, 10 or 12 times. Definitely not fun, in my opinion. I don't like that feeling. And I felt like, I don't know, it was during the day, which, you know, a normal street racer is not going to race during the day. They're going to race at night. So Carbon got that right. I also liked the dramatic feel you got before each race. It wasn't anime-ish. It was just really dramatic, and I liked that in the game. It got me pumped for the race. I really love that. And I really hope that one of the Need for Speeds will go back to the Carbon days, not in the ranking, just in that dramatic feel when you're being pitted against the rivals and such. So that way you actually feel like you're into the race, rather than just the same old start like almost every other racing game. So it's definitely my favorite racing game, and it's number 3 on the list. Number 2, Spider-Man Web of Shadows. It was a tough call between the top 2 games, mainly because 2 games I really wanted on the list couldn't be on the list because they're not PS3 accessible. So, Spider-Man Web of Shadows is really interesting because, despite the fact that the main character is a complete whiny bitch as Red and Blue, as a black suit, he's just this badass that's pretty much like, hey, you screw with me, I'm gonna punch you in the face. And his actual fighting style, the way you get around the city, is very reminiscent to Spider-Man, like the movies, the Spider-Man movies. But unlike the Spider-Man movie stuff, it's much more independent thinking, and it has its own storyline. It doesn't follow the movie, doesn't follow the usual comics. It's its own universe, but it does it really well, in my opinion. And it's another underestimated game that a lot of people like to overlook, but I think it's a really well done game. I like the fighting mechanics. I like because they're really skilled. The fights are fun. And I just like the appeal of having the black suit. You know, I've always been a black suit fan. So now I get to be black suit Spider-Man and beat down some punks. It's really awesome. And I heard that there's a new one coming out called Shattered Dimensions. That's going to be awesome. I'm really going to look forward to that one. Hopefully it's going to be a lot like Web of Shadows in that regard. And finally, Devil May Cry 4. The reason why this got top is because the characters are a little bit more bearable. Then again, it's up for debate. They're both about the same. The thing with the Devil May Cry 4 system is that the fighting system is a lot better, and Nero's not as much of a whiny bitch, although everybody will say he's a whiny bitch. Dante's really funny. The disadvantage to the game is that you go pretty much forward in one direction, and then you have to go back to the beginning with the other character. But other than that, the styles are okay. Dante could have been a lot better, but Nero was really fun, and he made up for it. I mean, his personality wasn't particularly the best, but I love the God Hand. I love being able to just say, oh, you're a boss, you're pissing me off, eat this, you freaking bitch, with the giant God Hand. It was awesome, because, you know, you always wanted that fantasy where it's like, okay, this boss is really pissing me off and I want to punish him. This God Hand was the way of doing that. It was the literally way of saying, you're my bitch in my hand, boosh, boosh, boosh. And you do like 1/4 of the damage of their entire bar. It's just awesome. I mean, yeah, it was easy. It was a little cheap, but it was fun. And that was the point of the game, I think, is to have fun with the combos and all that. Although, you don't want to use the guns. The guns just suck. Unless you're on Heaven or Hell mode, then they're like the best thing ever. But other than that, stick with the sword and the God Hand. For Dante, whatever you want. I don't really care much about Dante, except his personality is awesome. Especially the scene with the doctor where he's doing the whole dramatic thing in the theater. That was priceless. I love that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The honorable mentions were both 360 console games, which was the Mass Effect series, which that explains itself. That was just a really awesome RPG. And as far as gun-based games go, that's just one of the best. The cast is great. Commander Shepard's a badass. And the actual system for everything is just makes you feel like an uber commando. It's a really great game. But it's more something you want to get for the PC, like Dragon Age Origins. So that's an honorable mention, but because it's not a PS3 game, couldn't be on the list. The other honorable mention was Ninja Blade, which is a Ninja Gaiden ripoff, but it does it so much better. It has the aspects of God of War with the aspects of Ninja Gaiden without the crappy camera, and it's just a better game in general. Plus, the Ninja Rush mechanics are really awesome. They just make you feel like you're just going to go super bitch slap on the boss. It's just really awesome. And the finishers in that game, I mean, before God of War 3, the finishers were so much better than the ones in God of War. God of War 3, had great finishers. It's just the actual gameplay was really boring. With Ninja Gaiden, it felt like the gameplay was actually fun because there was more variety and you got to do so much more. It made you feel like it was more intense. And the hero wasn't raw, smash everything, and there was more of a story. So that was the other honorable mention. Anyway, there you go. My 5 favorite games for the PS3. I hope you enjoyed this. There will be more to come, and Von Tauser signing out.